And then when the ambush starts, instead of doing what they traditionally do, is a long-range ambush from afar, they decide they're going to do it close and run between the vehicles, because now they would cause a crossfire, right? And so
you highlighted this ambush, which I think was really interesting, where you kind of, it lets you know that it was the end, where you were kind of like, all right, probably time to step away. But at the same time, it showcased that idea of being prepared. So can you maybe speak to, that incident, what happened there?
You talking about the ambush in Afghanistan?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My final ambush. Yeah. So that was interesting too. So we're on the Kunar River, and all the Afghans that worked for us, they were potential targets for Taliban, right? They knew they worked for us, they would try to kill them, right? So, but we had to let our guys go home on vacation too sometimes, right? So we usually gave them like 2 weeks worth of leave. Said, hey, you can take your AK-47s with you, go home for self-protection. But because of where we were located, we couldn't just let them go on their own. They would be killed because Taliban owned a lot of that territory between the bases. And there was one particular strip that was about 7 kilometers long that was just Taliban owned. Had a lot of burned out hulks, vehicles been blown up, attacked. So normally what we would do is, and we had another camp down here, probably all total about, if I remember right, about 40, 50 kilometers south of us. Guys that were on vacation coming back, they would go to this camp, they would wait here. Then our guys, when they're ready to go on vacation, we put them in the trucks, we would drive them down here, right? And then these guys would drive them up here in a truck, and we'd do a switch, and we go back, bring the new guys back off of leave, and the other guys could go on, right? But we had to do this transition right here between in Indian country, so to speak. So this particular night, we're staging, getting ready to launch. We're on the radios, SATCOM radios. I talked to my point of contact down here. He goes, yeah, we're ready. We're lined up. We're ready to launch because we're going to try to meet at the same time, specific time. And all right, roger that. Gates are open. We're on the way out. We go out the gates, and about 2 hours into it, I find out that these guys had a problem with their communications and had to go back, right, and reload all the comms gear and stuff like that. So now they're going to be really late, and we're already on the way, and we're not going back. So we end up going to the link-up point on this road, which is along the river, and then you had high ground on the right side, and you had high ground on the left side. So we're sitting there, and now they're on their way, but they're like 2 hours behind. And so I think we had 23 vehicles. So we're sitting there, and my interpreters had Icon radios, which were the same radios Taliban used, right? And so it's an open net, so we can hear everything they're saying, what they're talking about. So my guys are listening. As we're sitting there, all of a sudden we start getting chatter. Taliban knows we're there. It's pitch black. There's no moon, but they know where we are. And they're up on the high ground, and they start just every now and then shoot a volley of bullets at us to try to get us a response out of it so they can kind of figure out where our vehicles are parked because they don't have night vision. And they're bringing more guys in. They're starting to set up ambushes, IEDs. They're gonna hit us, right? And we're like sitting on the X. And so the other guys are coming back, and we're like, you know what? Let's go send another point element down, about 10 cars or 10 trucks, send them down, link up down here, get these guys and come and bring them up for us. Well, now we know we're being ambushed. We got an ambush down here. We got an ambush on the south, an ambush on the north. We've got IED set up in the apex of a turn. Travel speed's about 5 miles an hour maximum. It's about as fast as you can drive on these dirt roads and these trucks, right? So it's going to be really slow. And it's a 7-kilometer stretch where we're going to be in this kill zone. And so we managed to call out for ECAS, emergency close air support. Anybody on station out there, we need air support. Turns out we had an AH-6 Apache that was in the area loitering. Came up on our comms, said, yeah, I can support you, right? So what we did was we sent that point element down 10 vehicles. They linked up with the other vehicles. During that link up, they got ambushed, right, by Taliban. So now the AH-6 is engaged. It's unloading on these dudes, and firefight ensues. AH-6 runs out of ammo. It runs back south to that camp where they had left from to rearm and refit. And then our element comes back with our soldiers, but now they've got casualties, right? They've got guys that have been shot and got wounded, right? So they come back, and we taking care of them, triaging them, and so me and the other 2 Americans that are there with me were like, okay, we got a choice. We can run south or we can run north. Either way, we're running through an ambush, right? So let's go run north back home. And so we turned all the vehicles around. We positioned them. We waited for the Apache to come back because what we wanted him to do is fly in front of us, do a gun run down the road, and start clearing the road for us. And then we're going to just start driving back. Remember, speed is about 5 miles an hour, so it's not going to be fast movement. Every vehicle is 50 meters apart. We got 23 vehicles, so do the math. We're about a little over a kilometer spread out, right? So, and so it's pitch black and like speeds 5 miles an hour maybe. So we get the vehicles turned around. We're ready to go, and we're listening to the chatter from the Taliban. They're like, "Hey, they already know the plan. They already knew the plan. They're like, yeah, they're going to come in. They're going to run the helicopter down the road, strafe the road. So you guys get as close to the vehicles as you can because they can't strafe their own vehicles. And then when the ambush starts, instead of doing what they traditionally do is a long-range ambush from afar, they decide they're going to do it close and run between the vehicles because now they would cause a crossfire, right? And so yeah, they gotten smarter over the years, right? And so they were right there. And they already identified the vehicles they wanted. And they already identified the weapon systems on them that they're going to take. They already had a plan. I mean, they worked it all out. So, it's like, okay. So we had a plan too. And the plan was, okay, when the H comes in, he opens fire, everybody starts driving. And every vehicle that takes off, as soon as you start driving, every gun on that truck starts shooting outwards at everything and behind anything, any rock, tree that a Taliban
that moves.
You just keep laying out bullets, keep fucking bullets going every direction, right? And I mean, we had Dishkas, we had grenade launchers, 40 millimeter automatic grenade launchers on top of the vehicles. And I remember I was truck number 15. I had all the antennas on it, right? I had a command vehicle. And I'm sitting there, I had 2 Afghans with me, my interpreters. And as I'm sitting there looking through my night vision goggles, I can see the first truck take off, it's shooting. Then the second truck takes off, it's shooting. It's like March of the Penguins. Then the third truck, and then the fourth truck, So I had plenty of time to think about all this, as I'm watching. I'm thinking, Jesus, this is the first time I've ever drove through an ambush to get out of an ambush, And, but I don't have a choice, And so I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm thinking, man, if I get out of this one, it's time to hang up the guns. Because at that time I was 47, I think, at the time. And I thought, if I get out of this one, I'm just going to call it quits, And so, and I remember sitting there and we talked about resolving your own death right earlier, right? And so one of the things that can inhibit you from performing at your maximum, especially under stress and duress like that in combat, is if your thoughts shift to something else doesn't matter right now. Like if you're in a fight, the last thing you need to be thinking about is your kid, right? Or anything else. Did I pay for my insurance, right? Whatever, right? You just need to be focusing on the threat and how you're going to take care of it, right? So I said, okay, I don't want nothing else to bother me. So I remember sitting there in a truck, engines running, watching the one by one gunfight start, and I'm thinking, okay, family. I can see each one of my kids' faces in my mind, one at a time, each one, my sons, my daughters, and then my wife, got all that out of the way, boom, and now focus, right? And so at that moment, I made sure that my death was completely resolved and I had no lingering thoughts to think about. I got that clear, it's all sorted out, and now I just focus on the movement. So, and off we went. And so I think we had about 7 vehicles get shot up. We all got through, no KIAs on our part. We did have some WIAs. We got on the other end. And I remember after we stopped, you could hear the Taliban commander yelling at the trigger guy for the ID. He goes, "Why didn't you set off the IDs? Why didn't you set off the IDs?" And he goes, because I couldn't, because there were so many bullets coming. I couldn't get my head up. Because he had set it up in an apex turn where we had to make a turn, and that's where it was set up, right?
Yeah.
And he couldn't do it. He couldn't get his head up because like, fuck, And so, we pulled it off. And
that's incredible.
And then we got back to the camp that morning and, cleaned up and sorted it all out. And then I decided, this is it for me. I made it through this one like I promised myself. I'm done.